So day 2 of our car finance notes actually goes back to 7th grade for a minute when we talk about box and whisker plots, but they have a meaning now. They have something to do with the median and a fair price, and we'll also learn at the end of the class how to make one on Google Sheets as well. So today's date is the 5th of January, and get the correct year written down. So a box and whisker plot, if you remember, it looked something like this. You had, let me get a different color here, you had the box and you had little whiskers coming out. And the whiskers are the outliers. The box contains the median and the first and third quartiles. And let me go up here and define these more with you. Try to remind you something you did in probably 7th, 8th, no later than 9th grade, but probably even before that. So the 5 values are the lowest one, which could be an outlier. It may or may not be. This one here didn't seem that much lower, but the highest value did seem a lot higher. So this whisker was really long, so that's why it's a good idea to use a box and whisker plot, because you can get rid of your outlier and you'll end up with a fair price in the middle. And the middle is median. So the median, again, is your third value, right? We had low, we had high, and your median's going to be wherever that line is. And then the first quartile is simply the median of the first half. So it's the middle of the first half. And the third quartile is the same thing on the other side. The third quartile is the median of the second half of the data. They call them quartiles. The median could be called the second quartile, but it's got its own name called the median, which is the middle number. So if you were looking at cars and one value, you know, if there were Honda Civics and they were 10,000, 12,000, 13,000, 14,000, and then $10 billion, right? Well, that would be a crazy outlier that wouldn't affect this being the middle value still. So first we're going to do it by hand, like an old-fashioned box and whisker plot, and then at the end of the period we'll I'll show you how to do it on sheets, which is just a little bit quicker. So if you're going to put these in order, which is something that Sheets does for you, but right now these are not in order. So basically I noticed that everything is between 60 something and 100. So let's look at the 60s. I'll mark off the 60s. There's 64 and 67. I don't think there's anything in the 60s left. So then I'll look at the 70s. And I have a 72, a 75, and a 78. I don't think there's any 70s left, so then I look at the 80s, and I have 3 82s. 1, 2, 3. So 3 82s, and then an 84, an 86, and an 88. And then I have the 90s, which is 92, 94, 95. That's out of order. There we go. 92, 94, 95, and obviously the 100 is at the end. Now it's asking us for our 5 crucial values here, and the lowest one is obviously 64, and the highest one is clearly 100. Those two are no-brainers. So now we have to figure out the quartiles and the median. The next easiest one to find is the median, because it's the one in the middle. So sometimes you're taught just to cross off from the ends. 2 ends there, 2 ends, 2 more ends, another set, another set, another set, another set, and there is your median. But you probably remember that when you have an odd number of data, that works, and when you have an even number of data, you're going to have to add up the 2 middle ones and divide by 2. But that worked out pretty nicely. So now the first quartile is the median of the lower half. And you include the median in both halves. So now I have, it looks like 8 numbers in that lower half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is no middle of 8. The middle would be right here. So you have to add up 75 plus 78 and divide by 2 to find the quartile there. When you do the upper half, you include the 82 in that as well, and you'll have 4 numbers in each half of the half. So it's halfway in between 88 and 92. So we add those 2 up and divide by 2, and that would be the third quartile. So this would be 76.5, and the third quartile, halfway between 88 and 92, is 90. So there's your 5 critical points. So then you just plot those on the graph. 64 is right about here. 76.5 is right about there. 82, 90, and 100. Now if you're using Google Docs, I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. There's little pictures at the top of your Google Doc that you can bring down and drag down. But this is how you draw it by hand. You make a box around the second and the fourth ones. You put a line through the median, and your whiskers go out to the ends. And that's a box and whisker plot. This is the same thing, except it's just going to go vertically. So there's really no difference to this. In fact, I'm going to cheat. See if this works. And you can see it's the same thing vertically. The reason we show it vertically is because in algebra you're used to this, but in sheets and in this class we usually show it this way. But now if you have the Google Doc version of Notes, which I'm guessing most of you did, here's how you do that. On the Google Doc version, you see at the top we made you a little box, a couple of whiskers, a couple of endpoints, and then a little tiny little line for the median. So all you need to do here is, so it might be a little frustrating with a Chromebook trackpad, but you would come down and put the endpoint, I think it was 64, right? And the other, I'll just grab this one while I have it. I think that was at 100. And then the box went from 76.5 to 90. So I'll just do this, stretch it out to 90. And then you can just bring down your whiskers and size them appropriately if you need to. See, I didn't give up there. Persevered. And that's generally the idea there. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to switch over and open up that Google Sheet that was also in Google Classroom, and we'll do a little bit electronically now. Okay, so if the file made a copy for everybody, it should look like this. Now, underneath test scores, I'm going to start listing all the test scores that we had in the notes that we just did. And we don't have to put them in order this time. We can just type them the way they gave them to us on the note sheet, which was 64, so go ahead and type with me, 78, 92, 100, 88, 86, 94, 72, 75, 82, 95, 67, 82, 84, and 82. And for some reason, that one's really tiny. Okay. So there should be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And there's 15. So we're good, we got them all. So if that's the list of data, and we wanted to find the average, which is the mean, we can just type in equals average, and I just like to highlight the whole list all the way down to the bottom, which is really B5 colon B19. And the average comes out to be 82.7. And if you saw that new feature just pop up there, it tries to guess what you want. And I think it was what we wanted, but I want to type it in myself, so no thank you, Google Sheets. Now we find the median of the same set of data, so equals median, and it's the same chunk of data, the whole thing, B5 to B19, the way I have it typed. And the median is 82. And if you look at the notes that we just took on the other page, the median was 82. It just turned out that the median and the mean were very close on this one, and that's because there was no huge outlier. The two whiskers were the same length. So we now know that the median was 82. So I'll put equals E3 because that's what that is. I'm just going to drop it down. The math word for lowest is minimum. So you type in equals min and then select all the data. B5 to B19 again. And the lowest was 64, no surprise to us, we've already done this. The highest, we call that a max, right, for maximum, equals max of all the data. And we knew that that was 100. So now the quartiles are a little bit different. Just a little bit though. Equals quartile, the whole word, Q-U-A-R-T-I-L-E, quartile, parenthesis, highlight it all, same thing, B5 to B19. And before you close the parenthesis, you're going to need to tell it that it's the first quartile as opposed to the third. So we're going to go comma 1. And it knows that it should be a different color. I think it comes up in blue maybe. Then you can close the parenthesis, and that's telling it the first quartile, 76.5, just like we got when we did it by hand. Third quartile, I'll bet you could figure out now, right? Quartile, parenthesis, all the data, comma 3 for third quartile. Because the median is really the second quartile. It just has its own fancy name called median. And that was 90, just like we had before. The last thing we're going to do is graph this because we can make a box and whisker out of it.